Good evening all. Today we'll be learning UTI, that is urinary tract anti-infective agents. That will be our topic for today. So let's go for a bit of introduction. So they are synthetic antibacterial agents. So they are nothing but synthetic antibacterial agent used basically for the treatment of urinary tract infection. So in case of urinary tract infection, these drugs are synthesized. Okay, these are used. Many drugs are used to control urinary tract infection because of their ability to develop concentration in your urinary bladder adequate to inhibit the growth of your infective. So these drugs have a pK which allows them to get concentrated in your urinary bladder, that is in your basic pH. So they have got the pH around basic, pK around the basic average. So this will get concentrated in your urinary tract, and thus it will inhibit the growth of infective organisms in your urinary tract. That's why they are known as urinary tract anti-infective, because they get concentrated more in your urinary tract and prevent the growth of your microorganisms. Okay. So, which are the drugs which are included? Fluoroquinolones. They are broad spectrum antibiotic effective against both gram positive and gram negative. They play an important role in treatment of various serious bacterial infection, especially hospital acquired bacterial infection. Okay, and in other resistance to older antibacterial classes. So, which drugs have got if resistance to your previous classes of your antibacterial agents, this drug show a wide. Fluoroquine also often used for your genitourinary infection, and also used in the treatment of hospital acquired infection associated with urinary catheters. So whenever the urinary catheters are there is a secondary infection because of your catheter. So such type of infection are taken care of by this fluoroquinolane. Such type of infections are taken care of by the fluoroquinolane. So now what is the spectrum of activity? They are highly active against urinary tract pathogens such as Escherichia coli, Klebsiella, Citrobacter, Proteus, as well as Salmonella, as well as Shigella species. So there's a broad spectrum, and most except fluoroquine are not active in case of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and they're not that active against this, and inactive against on some anaerobic and gram-positive bacteria. Though they have got wide, but they have some specific, they don't act on specific microorganisms. Pharmacokinetic, they have good oral viability because they are polar in nature. They reach urine enough quantity to get to be effective in UTI. So around more than 40% of drugs are available at your urinary tract. So that's why it is used in the treatment of urinary tract infection. That's why it's used in the treatment of urinary tract. Now, what is the classification? So, what is the classification of your so it contains sulfonamides, quinolones. Sulfonamides we have taken earlier. So, and we'll be continuing it with it as a revision point. Quinolones, which we'll be doing it today, nitrofurantoins and methylamine and its salts. So these are the three classes which will be sulfonamides. I'll be taking it in a separate class. Okay. Today I'll be concentrating more on quinolines, nitrofurans, and methylamine and its salts. Okay. So yeah, I would request all of you to keep your mics off so that it does not cause any disturbance to others. So in case of quinolones, there are first generation, second generation, third generation, and fourth generation quinolones, and with respective examples we'll be talking. Okay. So now for the first generation, So what are the examples of first generation? Nadalixic acid, synoxylene, prosoxazine. Okay, this is the example of first generation. And basically in the exam, the question are give the classification of anti-UTI agents and examples of drugs. Okay. Second generation drugs are norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin, ofloxacin, sparfloxacin, inoxaparin. So these are the second generation. Third generation is balofloxacin, levofloxacin, and timofloxacin. Okay. Fourth generation is linafloxacin, gatifloxacin, gemifloxacin, and moxifloxacin. So these are the four different generations. So which came first, nadolinic acid. Then they did some modification in the structure, cipro, ofloxacin. Then again, with this generation, the activity improved drastically as the innovation took place. So these are the various generations of your anti-UTI agents. Okay. Other examples are nitrofurantoins, nitrofurozone, methamine and its salts, that is methamine derivative. So these are the classification of UTI agents. This is the classification of your UTI agents. Okay, now what is the mechanism of action of fluoroquinolines? What is the mechanism of action? So fluoroquinolines enter the bacterium by the passive diffusion through the pores that are present on the outer membrane. So there are pores which are present in your membrane, outer membrane. So these fluoroquinolines enter through this outer membranes. Once inside, so what happens once it goes inside? They inhibit the replication of DNA by interfering with the action of DNA gyrase. That is your topoisomerase 2. That is your topoisomerase 2 enzyme. And also it inhibits topoisomerase 4 during your bacterial growth and reproduction. These two enzymes are necessary during your DNA replication, that is replication and your supercoiling. So they play an important role in supercoiling and thus reduce the strain in your supercoiled ring, that is positively and negative. So these two enzymes, if they and these fluoroquinolines act at these two enzymes. So DNA gyrase, that is topoisomerase 2 and topoisomerase 4. The binding of these quinolines to both these enzymes, the DNA forms a temporary complex with this. So what happens? The DNA, the compounds, these compounds, quinolines, they form a complex with your this particular enzymes, and this inhibits your resealing. Means what happens? Once the DNA goes into a replication phase, the topoisomerase 2 DNA gyrase plays an important role in supercoiling. And once this thing is that they have to recoil. So this recoiling takes place with the help of your topoisomerase 4. So when this complex is formed with this particular enzyme, these two steps are inhibited. This leads to your cell death by inducing cleavages in your DNA. So this is the mechanism of action of your fluoroquinol. Second site blocked by fluoroquinol, as I explained, which is very important in your cell division. So what happens? There is an unfolding of your this thing. So back, I'll be showing you the video how exactly the fluoroquinolines act. What is the mechanism of action of your fluoroquinol with an animation? So I'll be showing you that. Okay. So as I explained, they act on both these fluoroquinolines exert their antibody by preventing the bacterial DNA forming replication and transcription. So this fluoroquinoline inhibit the bacterial DNA gyrase or topoisomerase 4 enzyme. Topoisomerase 4 enzyme, thus inhibiting your DNA replication and transcription. For many gram-negative bacteria, DNA gyrase is the target, whereas for topoisomerase is the target for gram-positive. So according to the bacteria, if it is a gram-negative bacteria, then the target of this particular drug is your DNA gyrase enzyme. Whereas in case of gram-positive bacteria, topoisomerase, so they inhibit both your splitting as well as resealing of your DNA. Thus, they inhibit your DNA formation in your microorganism. The majority of quinolines in clinical use are fluoroquinolines. So, fluorine substituted. If there is a fluorine substituted at C7, they are both effective against your both gram-positive and gram-negative. So, the fluorine substituted at the 7th position of your quinolones. They are the most active because they have got active effectivity against both gram-positive as well as gram-negative bacteria. So if you see the structure of your fluoroquinoline, I'll be showing it in the board. I'll be just showing you in the board. Just look at it. Just look at that. Structures of your fluoroquinone. So what is the basic structure of fluoroquinone? So it contains a quinolone ring. See, what is quinolone ring? This is a benzene ring which is fused here pyridine. So quinolone contains an 1,4-quinol. Okay, pyridine. So this is a quinolone because it contains an quinoline ring and an carbonyl group at the 4th position. So this is your basic quinolone ring. It contains a carboxylic acid group at the 3rd position. Okay, and various. So in case of fluoroquinolines, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so at the 6th position, there is an fluorine. Sorry, as I said earlier, it was 6, not 7. Okay, fluoro, and this contains various piperidine or bicyclic or substituted piperidines at the 7th position. 8th position is also containing various fluoro, chloro, or methoxy. And your 5th position contains NS2 or a small groups. Basically, it contains small group. So these are the basic things of your fluoroquinolone. This is the basic structure you have to always remember. And the 8th position over here, X, it can be a carbon or a nitrogen also with a substituted carbon or a nitrogen. So these are the basic structure of your fluoroquinolines. Okay, so if you see in this particular structure that is shown in blue color, that is your carbonyl group at the 4th and your acidic group at the 3rd position. This is essentially for the binding with your DNA gyrase binding site. So this is important for your DNA gyrase binding site. Whereas your substitution at the 5th group is it improves your activity against your gram-positive bacteria. Moreover, the fluorine present, it is important for your DNA gyrase activity. It's also important for your DNA gyrase activity. It's also important for your DNA gyrase activity. Okay, and the substitution at the 7th, this plays an important role in its antibacterial spectrum, potency, as well as the pharmacokinetic. What is pharmacokinetic? That is ADME character. So ADME character depends upon the substitution at the 7th position. Okay, these are the overall essay. If you see in this structure, you know what all things are important. So whenever you write a structure of a fluoroquinolane, please don't write 2-benzene. Most of the time I see that people put a double bond at the 3rd and the 4th position. No, it is wrong. And they put a double bond at 1 and 2. So that is wrong. So it's a 1,4-quinoline ring. Okay, 1,4-quinolone ring means it contains a nitrogen which is saturated at the 1st position, and it contains a carbonyl group at the 4th position. So this is what you have to always remember carefully when you are studying fluoroquinolines, and whenever you are writing any of the structures of your fluoroquinolines. So these all things have to be remembered. So first thing, the nitrogen is saturated and substituted. There is a double bond between 2nd and 3rd, and there is no double bond between 3rd and the 4th. And the 4th position contains a carbonyl group, CO, and the 3rd position contains a carboxylic acid group. So these are very much important in when you are drawing a structure. And this 1,4-pyrimidone ring is fused to your benzene or a pyridine ring according to the substance, and it contains a fluorine at the 4th position. Okay, at the 6th position. So these are the basic things which are necessary to be remembered when you are drawing the structures of your quinolones or a fluoroquinone. Okay, now let's go for the other structure. As I explained, it should be, the nitrogen should be saturated at the, or a cyclopropyl ring, it is basically a 4-quinolone 3-carboxylic acid derivative. So basically it is called a 4-quinolone. That's because it contains a carbonyl group at the 4th position and a carboxylic acid group at the 3rd position. The piperazine group is also necessary for your anti-pseudomonal activity, and whereas the substitution at the 6th position with the fluorine and a carboxylic and a carbonyl group at the 3rd and 4th are responsible for their activity against the DNA gyrase enzyme, against the DNA gyrase. So always see the basic structure. So whenever you're drawing a structure of a fluid, these are the things that you have to remember. Nitrogen should be saturated or substituted with a cyclopropyl, ethyl, or a methyl. So that is the first thing. There should not be a double bond at the nitrogen. There should be a double bond between 2nd and 3rd. No double bond between 3rd and 4th. And there should be a carbonyl at the 4th position and a carboxylic acid at the 3rd position. And it is fused to your pyridine ring is fused to your benzene ring. It's a benzofused pyridine ring. Okay. And it contains a fluorine at the 6th position, a piperazine like moiety at the 7th position, and it contains at the 8th position it might contain a fluoro, methoxy, or amino, and the 5th position contains a basically small groups like methyl or a amino group according to the group. So now let's go for the SAR, basic SAR of your quinolones, basic SAR of a. So what is the general pharmacophore required for an quinolones? First thing, it should contain what? A 4-pyridine 3-carboxylic acid. So 4-pyrido, it should contain a 4-pyrido. It is not pyridine, it is a pyrido, 4-pyrido carboxylic acid, 3-carboxylic acid. Just a minute, I'll just go to this. It should be a 4-pyrido. It's not a pyridine. It's a 4-oxopyridine 3-carboxylic acid. This is how you can name 4-oxopyridine 3-carboxylic acid. This is how the ring attachment of the 5th. So if at the 5th and 6th position there is a ring atom reduction, and there should be a double bond at the 2nd and 3rd position. So if you try to reduce the double bond, the activity is lost. The fluorine at the C6 is essential for your activity. If you can see on the slide before, the fluorine substitution at the B ring, if there is a fluorine substitute at the 6th position, this is essential for your DNA topomerase enzyme activity. So this is the basic things that are considered when you are drawing the structures. Now let's go deep into the. So the pyridone system must be annihilated to an aromatic ring. What is meant by annihilated? It should be attached to an aromatic ring. That is the first criteria. At the 4th and the 5th and the 6th position of your pyridine, it should be attached to your aromatic ring. So isosteric replacement of a nitrogen for a carbon atom at some positions are consistent and they retain the antibacterial activity. So if in some positions, if your carbon in the ring is replaced by a nitrogen, the antibacterial activity is retained. The antibacterial activity is replaced. So if your carbon at the 2nd position, if you see examples, I'll be showing you later as I'll be teaching you. So what is the first thing? If your carbon at the 2nd position is replaced by an nitrogen, then it is known as sianoxylene. So if your carbon at the 2nd position is replaced by a nitrogen, it is called as sianoxylene. If the carbon at the 5th position is replaced by a nitrogen, then it is known as 1,5-naphthyridines. So if your carbon at the 5th position is replaced by a nitrogen, it is known as 1,5-naphthyridine. If the carbon at the 6th position is replaced by a nitrogen, it is called 1,6. And if the carbon at the 8th position is replaced by a nitrogen, it is known as 1,5-naphthyridine. So these are the various substitutions which are tolerated in the ring. So if your carbon is replaced by nitrogen in this particular position, their antibacterial activity is retained. So it can tolerate your biosterism. So nitrogen can be, carbon can be replaced by nitrogen in the ring. Substitution. Now if you see the molecule, substitution at second position directly reduces the or abolishes. So if you see in the ring, so if you see the second position, I just show you with the cursor. So the second position should not be substituted. If you try to substitute, it either abolishes or completely reduces the activity. So your second position should not be substituted. Second position should not be substituted. Substitution at the position 6, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the annulated ring produces good effects. So you can have substitution at 5, 6, 7, 8, which is an annulated ring to your pyramid 4-pyridine group. So if you have any substitution at 5, 6, 7, 8, it has good effect on the activity. Substitution at 6th position with the fluorine atom significantly enhances the activity. So it was observed that when quinolines are contains an fluorine at the 6th position, the activity was drastically improved. Alkyl substitution at the position 1 is essential for activity. Lower alkyl groups had greater potential. So what they observed that when there was a substitution like methyl or ethyl was substituted at the end position 1 nitrogen, it showed an improved activity. Okay, this was essential for and it should be a lower alkyl, not higher alkyl. With an increase in chain length, your activity was reduced. Okay, and branching, the activity was reduced. So these all things have to be considered when you're trying to design an anti-UTI agent. Okay. So now let's go for each position. Now that was the overall summary. Now let's go for each and every position. What is the effect of the substitutions? Okay, at each position. Now let's go for the first. Okay, the position number 1, that is your nitrogen. If you can see it on the board, it is the nitrogen. The side chain attached to the ring nitrogen affects the activity. So this substitution over here, nitrogen on the nitrogen has effect on the activity. Initially, short chain alkyl groups were used like ethyl, okay, cyclopropyl, ethyl fluoro, oxetane, improved the activity. These were all small chain, 3 or 4, 3 or maximum 3, 2, 3, and a cyclic form where so oxetane is nothing but your 3 member, okay, oxygen containing. So if such groups were present, the activity was good. The activity was good. Okay. What is the second thing? So it showed a improved gram-positive activity. Connecting of your, now what did one more observation was observed, that when you connected your N1 and your C8, when you try to connect your N1 and C8, this displayed your increased activity and good viability and increased half-life. Example is ofloxacin. Example is ofloxacin. You try to connect, I'll be showing you the example when I'll be showing the structure of ofloxacin. So when you try to connect between N1 and N8, it leads to a formation of your ofloxacin, which had got better viability and increased half-life. Okay. Now let's go for the second and third position. Let's go for the second and third position. So not much should be changed at this position. The carboxylic acid should be present for its binding with your DNA agarase of your back. If any changes reduces the activity, as I mentioned before, any changes at the second and third position, your activity is completely abolished. Some small adjustments did they make. So they replace your carboxylic acid with an isothiazole. If you can see over here, the isothiazole produced more potent drug but had poor solubility. Compound's activity was improved. Your acid, which was cyclized to an isothiazole, your activity increased, but the solubility decrease. That means it affects the pharmacokinetic property of the drug. So this particular substitution at the third position was necessary for both DNA gyrase as well as the pharmacokinetic property. Any changes over there reduce the solubility of the drug. Okay. Now let's go for the fifth position. Now go as usual. Fourth position is necessary for the binding of your DNA gyrase as I mentioned earlier. Now let's go for the fifth position. So bulky substitute reduces the activity. So if you have some very long, big groups at the fifth position, the activity is either it can be left unsubstituted or it should be substituted by a small groups like methyl amino groups. This increases the activity. Example, gripafloxacin and sparfloxacin. So in case of gripafloxacin, you have got to see what do you change the difference in gripafloxacin and sparfloxacin. Everything is same. Everything is same. It contains a cyclopropyl group, carboxylic at the third position, only at the fifth position it contains a gripafloxacin contains a methyl and sparfloxacin contains amino group. And in case of seventh position, it contains a monomethylated piperazine, whereas in case of sparfloxacin, it is a 2,5,2,6 dimethyl piperazine derivative. So this is the difference between your. So only thing is that you can only substitute by a smaller group, not a bigger. Example, sparfloxacin and gripafloxacin. Gripafloxacin contains a methyl group at the fifth position, whereas sparfloxacin contains a amino group. Most of the time it is unsubstituted, but by doing this substitution, the antibacterial activity improved a lot. Okay. Now let's go for the next. So at the sixth position should contain, as I mentioned, it should contain a fluorine group for enhanced activity. Now let's go for the seventh position. Attachment of an heterocyclic. So basically it should contain a heterocyclic ring at the seventh position, like piperazine or 3,4 dimethyl piperazine or aminopyrrolidines with nitrogen. With nitrogen improves the activity against gram-negative person, also improves the pharmacokinetic activity. So one thing is that if it contains one of the, in case of moxifloxacin, if you see sparfloxacin, as you seen, it contains an piperazine, methylated and 3,4. It is not 3,4. It is 2,6 dimethyl piperazine. Okay, just or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3,5. It is 3,5 dimethyl piperazine. Okay. So it can console also bicyclic substituents like in trovafloxacin. If you see trovafloxacin, it is a 3-membered and a pyrrolidine moiety. So pyrrolidine is fused to an 3-membered cyclic amino group, cycloamino group. And in case of moxifloxacin, your pyrrolidine is fused to your 6-membered piperazine. It's a bicyclic compound. So these are the example of bicyclic substitution at the seventh position. So they should contain a nitrogen containing heterocyclic compounds, and it should be saturated, which will increase the pharmacokinetic activity as well as activity against gram-negative bacteria. Okay. Now at the fourth position, at the eighth position, so it can contain a fluorine-chlorine substitute, which will increases the activity. Methoxy group at the eighth position also showed good activity. So if we can see the example of moxifloxacin. So moxifloxacin contains a methoxy group at the eighth position. Similarly, gatifloxacin also. Gatifloxacin basically used in eye ointments and all for ocular treatment. So it also contains a methoxy group. Moreover, it also can contain an fluorine at the eighth position. Fluorine at the eighth position. It also contains a fluorine. And if you see in case of sparfloxacin, it contains an fluorine at the eighth position. So example of fluorine containing at the eighth position is your sparfloxacin, and methoxy example is your gatifloxacin and moxifloxacin. Whereas in case of Provafloxacin, it is an 1,8-naphthalidine type of linkage. If you see in provafloxacin, it is a 1,8-naphthalidine type of. Okay, so these are the examples, and according to the positions you have to remember. Okay, as I mentioned, replacing nitrogen by a carbon via nitrogen at this position retains the activity. Okay, as seen in the example of provafloxacin. Now let's go from the basic chemical structure of your fluorophores. They have got how many? They have got both. If you see in this particular structure that is shown, okay, you see both acidic carboxylic acid. You can see acidic carboxylic acid group at the third position, and also it contains an basic like piperazine position at the seventh position. So that's why they always remain as a zwitterion at the physiological pH. So your at the physiological pH, your carboxylic acid will be O minus and your piperazine will be N. So they will always exist as a zwitterion species. Like tetracycline also, they have got chelating property. Why they have got a chelating property? So if you see in the structure, you got a beta carbonyl compound. So you got a beta carbonyl diketo structure. You got a beta diketo structure. This can form and stable insoluble complex with your metals. So this too can form a stable insoluble metal complex with di or trivalent metals like your calcium, magnesium, and all. They can form a complex with one will form a bond and other will form a coordinate bond with your metal complex. That's the reason why they should be given with an antacid. They should not be given with an antacid containing your calcium, aluminum. So this is your major contraindication. So it should not be given along with an antacid containing your calcium, aluminum. Most of your bulk of magnesia and all, it should not be, because they contain minerals or anything which contains minerals supplements in that. Formation of this reduces the oral viability of this agent. So once this, since it is insoluble, that will affect the oral availability of this agent. That's why you should never give. This comes for 2 marks. This particular reason comes for 2 marks. Okay. So you can see this, how the chelation is formed. So one of the bond will form a bond with your metal. One bond with the metal, another bond with the metal. So this particular complex which is formed. So chelation is also under also has another negative effect, the possibility of chelate with urine. So this also leads to a formation of your crystal urea. Why? Because of the reduced solubility, because these drugs are used for the treatment of urinary tract infection. So if this the solubility reduces of this compound because of the metal complex, they will precipitate out, and this will lead to your formation of your stones in your renal body, in your kidney. So this might lead to renal failure. So this is what the precaution has to be taken when you are taking your sulfonamoids. You should not take it with any mineral supplements or your antacids containing your milk of magnesia, aluminum oxide. Such type of antacids you have to not, because they can form to reduce the solubility of the drug, which leads to crystallization and leads to crystal urea, which leads to your stones in your kidney. So that's why it should never be given along with the alkylate, antacids. Now, nadiclic acid. So what is this nadiclic acid? So it's an example for 1,8-naphthalidine. It's an example of 1,8-naphthalidine. It's an example of 1,8. So let's draw the basic structure. So it's an example of 1,8-naphthalidine. It contains an extra nitrogen at the 8th position, and your first position is connected to an ethyl group, and at the 7th position it contains a methyl. So it is the first generation of your phenolones. It's the first generation phenolone and substituted phenol. It is known as, it's an example of 1,8 naphthalene type of, okay, nadolinic acid. It is the oldest quinoline and the first to be detected. Okay, it is again gram negative bacteria that causes urinary tract infection. They are bactericidal, they inhibit the DNA gyrase enzyme, and there is an example of 1,8 naphthalene. Please remember the structure properly. This structure of nadolic acid is asked in exam for 2 marks. What is the mechanism of action? Write the structure and uses of nadolic acid. This comes for 2 marks. Please make this thing in your mind. Nitrogen at the 1 and the 8th position, methyl at the 7th position, and ethyl at the first position. Ethyl at the first position. Similarly, carboxylic acid at the 3rd and a carbonyl at the 4th. So this is the structure of your nadolic acid. This is the structure of your nadolic acid, and it is the oldest quinoline. First. Right. So now let's go for the second. Second is sianoxylene. So what is the structure of sianoxylene? What do you see? Everything is same as that of your basic. The only difference is what? It contains an nitrogen at the 2nd position, and your 7th, 6th and 7th position are fused by a dia 2 oxygen containing 5-membered ring. Okay, so this is the structure of your sianoxylene. It is a structure of your sianoxylene. Its antibacterial activity is similar to that of your nadolinic acid, and it has got similarity to your nadolinic mechanism of action similar to that. So only thing is that a nitrogen carbon at the 2nd position is replaced by a nitrogen, and the methoxy group at the your methyl group at the 4th 7th position is replaced by an 5-membered dioxyl ring at the 4th, 5th, 6th and the 7th position. Okay, this is the structure of sianoxylene. Only difference you have to see, first difference is nitrogen at the 2nd position. Okay, rest all things are same, and it forms a 5-membered oxygen dioxo group. Okay, 5-membered ring which is fused at the 6th and the 7th position. So this is the structure of your sianoxylene. Norfloxacin is important. All these structures are very important. This is an example of your fluoroquinone. Norfloxacin is an example of your fluoroquinone. It is an example of 2nd generation fluoroquinone. So what is the basic structure? Since it is a fluoroquinone, and it is an ethyl carbonyl acid double bond and fluorine, and it is connected to an piperazine. It contains a basic piperazine, nothing. It's a first example of first fluoroquinone. It contains a fluorine at the 6th position, piperazine at the 7th position, ethyl at the first nitrogen. Okay, so this is the basic structure of norfloxacin. All these structures I'm repeating again and again. This come for 2 marks. All these structures come for 2 marks. They write the structure and uses of the compound. Okay, all these structures will be asked for 2 marks. Remember, norfloxacin, first, 2nd generation quinolones, which contains a fluorine at the 6th position and piperazine at the 7th position, and your nitrogen at the 1st position contains an ethyl group. So this is the structure of your norfloxacin. It is used for urinary tract infection. Mechanism of action is same as that of your other compounds. So inoxaline. So what is inoxaline? Structure everything similar to that of your norfloxacin. Only thing is that your nitrogen at the carbon at the 8th position is replaced by your nitrogen. Okay, that's only difference between your norfloxacin and inoxaline. Okay, it is an example of 1,4,1,8 naphthalene. Okay, it is an example for 1,8-naphthalidine. Next example is what? Next example is that of your ciprofloxacin. Similar to that of your norfloxacin. Only thing is that your ethyl group is replaced by a cyclopropyl group. So your ethyl group is replaced by your cyclopropyl group. Your ethyl group is, in case of norfloxacin, is replaced by your cyclopropyl. Rest all structures are same. If you see small difference. So once if you know one structure, you can draw all the other structures. You can draw all the other structure. So now let's go for the synthesis of your ciprofloxacin. Now let's go for the synthesis of your ciprofloxacin. So what is the first step? You take 2,4-dichloro 5-fluoro benzoyl chloride. If you see, you take 2-chloro 5-chloro 6-fluoro. It is 2 1 2 3 4 2-chloro 4-fluoro 2,4-dichloro 5-fluoro benzoyl chloride. You treat it with diethylmanonate. What is diethylmanonate? CH2 linked to your 2-carboxylic acid containing ethyl group. That is your diethylmanonate. You treat it with in presence of magnesium methoxide or sodium methoxide, any base. It will undergo your condensation reaction to give your corresponding ethyl. You don't have to remember this name. So your anion is generated which attacks on your carbonyl carbon to give your particular intermediate. So this particular intermediate which contains two esters which is attached to your carbonyl group of your benzoyl. So this will then when you treat it with paratoluene sulfonic acid, it undergoes your upper part of your ester is cleared off. First thing is your upper part of your diester is cleared off. You get your ethyl 2,4-dichloro 5-fluoro benzoyl aryl acetate. Okay, benzoyl acetate. Okay, this is the intermediate. This when you treat it with triethyl orthoformate. What is this triethyl orthoformate? You put a carbon, central carbon connected to 3,4, which contains an ethyl. So this is triethyl orthoformate. When you treat it with this, you get a double bond O ethyl group. Okay, your CH2 group, and in your benzoyl acyl acetate, it is converted into your double bond O ET group. And this when you treat it with cyclopropyl amine. When you treat it with your cyclopropyl amine, your OET is replaced by your amino group. Your OET is replaced by your cyclic amine, cyclopropyl. This when you treat this particular intermediate, when you treat it with sodium hydride, that is a base, it will undergo hydrolysis as well as cyclization. If you see, the amine will get deprotonated and it will undergo displacement reaction with your substitution reaction with your chlorine to give your corresponding intermediate. And that intermediate, which when you treat intermediate, that you treat it with your piperazine. By heating it with piperazine at high temperature, you get your ciprofloxacin. This question is synthesis of ciprofloxacin is asked repeatedly in exam. Okay, so please read this synthesis properly. First thing is your 2,4-dichloro 5-fluoro benzoyl chloride reacts with diethylmanonate to give your acyl malonate derivative. Your methylene group of your active methylene group of your diethylmanonate reacts with your benzoyl group, carbonyl group of benzoyl to give your particular malonate intermediate. This when you treat it with your paratoluene sulfonic acid, it undergoes your upper part gets removed. You get your one of your ester group gets removed, and you get an ethyl dichloro 5-fluoro benzoyl acyl acetate. Okay, this intermediate when you treat it with your triethyl orthoformate, your methylene group, which is the group methylene group which is between the two carbonyl group, gets converted into a double bond OET. And this, when you treat it with cyclopropyl amine, you get your amino group attached instead of your ethyl O-ethyl. It replaces your O-ethyl by an amino group. And that, when you treat it with sodium hydride, it undergoes hydrolysis as well as cyclization to give your corresponding intermediate. That intermediate, when you heat it with piperazine in presence of TMS at high temperature, you get your corresponding ciprofloxacin. So this is very important from your examination point of view to be studied. This is very important from your examination point of view. Please practice it before you go for exam. Next is your ofloxacin. What did I say in ofloxacin? So in ofloxacin, your nitrogen at the first position, the nitrogen at the first position is fused with the carbon at the 8th position by an oxygen. So it forms a 6-member ring containing nitrogen. So nitrogen and oxygen at 1/4 position and a methyl over here. So this is so you can have both the enantiomer. This can be in front or at the back, methyl. So it is an racemic mixture. In case of it contains an 1,4-oxazine. So why for it is called 1,4-oxazine at the first position, nitrogen. If you see 1,4-oxazine, why it is called? Because it contains a nitrogen at the first and oxygen at the 1 and nitrogen at the 4th position. That's why it is called as it is called as 1,4-oxazine ring with a methyl at the 3rd position. So it has got better penetration in the CNS than your ciprofloxacin. It is an asymmetric mixture, and it was recently found that your S isomer is more your S methyl. If this thing is of S configuration, the methyl at the 3rd position is of S configuration, then of L configuration, it has better activity as compared to your S configuration. So that's why they are isolated and S form, that is your levofloxacin, was more preferred over your ofloxacin when you do your chiral resolution. So this is an example of your cyclic 1,8 cyclized derivative. Sparfloxacin, as I said, it contains dimethyl amino at the 5th position and fluoro at the 8th position. This is the difference. And it contains a cyclopropyl ring. It's not shown over here. It contains a cyclopropyl group attached to your nitrogen. So it contains a cyclopropyl group which is attached to your nitrogen. Please do the necessary correction over here. It is shown NH. It is not NH. It contains a cyclopropyl group attached to the N1 nitrogen. Okay. Adverse effect of all these drugs are nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, headache, vertigo, visual disturbance, and hallucination, and urticaria. So these are the. Now let's go for the next derivative, that is nitrofuran derivatives. So example is nitrofurantine. So it is nothing but a combination of an amino hydantoin and a furfural diide. Nitro substituted furfural-diide. So that is nothing but a combination of a nitrofurfural-diide and an amino hydantoin. So this is when these two comes fused together, you get your nitrofurantine. You get your nitrofurantine. What did I say? It is nothing but it contains what? Nitrofurfural. Furfural is nothing but an furfuraldehyde. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 nitrofurfuraldehyde. So that when you fuse with an amino hydantoin. So this when you treat it with an NH2 and double bond O NH. So and double bond O NH double bond O. Such type of linkage is known as hydantoin linkage. So such type of N double bond O N and a double bond. Such type of linkage is known as cyclic linkage, is known as Hydantoin linkage. So this is nothing. So when these two fuse together, you get your. So when this thing comes together, nitrogen, you get your Hydantoin moiety. So this is an example, nitrofurantoin. So what is the mechanism of action? Nitro works by damaging DNA, bacterial DNA, the reduced form. So what happens? The nitro gets reduced. So it is an example of a prodrug. So this gets reduced to form an amino group, and which gets introduced into your DNA sequence, and thus forming a complex with your bacterial ribosomes, and leading to your false DNA sequencing and breakage of your DNA. So this is your basic mechanism of action of your nitrofurantoin, because they get introduced into your benzene, into your DNA structure, and thus destruction in your protein synthesis. Okay. Synthesis, as I mentioned, it is 4 nitro to furfural 5 nitro to furfural you condense it with 1 amino hydantoin. So it undergoes condensation reaction with the loss of water to give you a particular nitrofurantoin. So all these syntheses are important. These are very simple synthesis, direct synthesis, which are used and asked simultaneously in the exam. So please give more importance for the synthesis in this particular chapter. They are asked, and the basic structures. Now the next example is metamine mandate. So what is the proposed mechanism of action? The acid catalyzed hydrolysis of the methylamine. So what is this methylamine? If you can see, it is a structure similar to adamantane. Only thing is that in case of adamantane, it contains an amino group. But in this case, it contains, so if you see, draw a skeleton structure. It contains 1, 2, 3, 4. It contains a 4 nitrogen nitrogen groups. So what is the basic structure of this? You draw one cyclohexane ring. You draw a boat form of cyclohexane. Okay, and then you connect your this. Okay, this is the. Then what do you do? Now put a nitrogen at this junction, this junction, this junction, and at the junctions put a nitrogen. Put a nitrogen at this junction, and this is the structure of methylamine. And mandolate nothing but a salt of it. It forms a mandolate salt, mandelic acid. What is mandelic acid? It's phenylacetic acid with the alpha phenyl hydroxy acid. So it contains an hydroxy group at the alpha group of your phenylacetic acid. This is nothing but your mandelic acid. So what happens in your acidic medium? So in your acidic medium, this methylamine decomposes into your corresponding aldehyde and your ammonium salt. So in your acidic medium, it is inactive acid, but as soon as it comes into an acidic medium, it dissociates into your formaldehyde and your ammonium salt. Okay, this formaldehyde inhibits your bacteria. Okay, it has no antibacterial activity in your blood and the tissue. Only they are active in your urine. So they are usually administered as a salt of mandelic acid or hippuric acid. The other common thing is adverse effect on nausea, stomach upset, gastritis, crystalluria, and they are also contraindicated in renal insufficiency. So if there is no frequent urination, this should not be given. Okay. Uses. So these are some of the uses of the drug, how they are prescribed. Norfloxacin, it is given as 400 mg BID, that is 2 times. Ciprofloxacin is given in a dosage of 250 to 500 mg BID, that 2 times a day. Ofloxacin in the dosage of 200 to 400 mg in twice a day. Levofloxacin as the 4th generation anti-infective agent, it is given as 250 mg OD. Lomifloxacin is given as 400 OD, that is once a day. Gatifloxacin is given as a single dose 400 mg. In case of bacterial diarrhea, norfloxacin is given as a dose of 400 mg twice a day. Ciprofloxacin is given in a dose of 500 mg twice a day. In gonococcal infection, that is your, it is given, norfloxacin is given as a single dose of 800 mg, ofloxacin 300. So these are some of the combinations. So that completes your urinary infective agent, anti-infective agent, urinary anti-infective